Hey guys, Kevin Eastman for the series premiere of Scream Queen, Season 1, Episode 1. This, of course, was the pilot. Now, this was one of the shows, out of the fall shows, that I was looking forward to the most. And the two shows, that I was looking forward to the most premiered tonight, Scream Queens and also Muppets, which I will be reviewing next. Now, originally, I was going to review the 2-hour premiere as one as in one review, but I figured I'd review both episodes to you guys because I really want to watch the Muppets after this. So I was going to do this episode, then I'm going to review the Muppets, and then I'm going to review episode 2 of Scream Queen. So that's really what I'm going to do. And this show, like I said, I was really looking forward to it. It looked like it was going to be a lot of fun. It looked like it was going to be just a really fun show overall that was more of what I wish the Scream TV series, should have been. And it very much seemed like that. I have to say, though, that I think this is probably one of the more disappointing pilots I've seen out of the ones for the fall TV season so far, because while I think the show does have the ability to be great, it definitely is not great yet. It's really not. We did not get the best version we've seen of this show in the pilot, which is okay, it's understandable, but this show has a lot to fix if it wants to impress me and if it wants me to keep watching. Now, I really am, I'm going to keep watching. I'm going to keep watching. But it has a lot of problems. There are a lot of things that I think could be a lot better than it is. So let's just get into it. I of course will recap the episode, talk about what happened, and yeah. So I really like the way this episode starts out because we start off with getting introduced to Kappa Kappa Tow right away, and we see right away that Kappa Kappa Tow is the definition of a thoughtless, basically thoughtless, selfish sorority house. That's what it is. Completely, they don't really think of anything. They're very selfish. They're just very, very selfish overall. This is back in the 90s, and we see that there's blood, and apparently this girl has just gone into labor. She thought she was going through the freshman 15, but she wasn't, and the girls don't give a shit at all. They just go on with the party because this song comes on. But then they see that this girl was actually murdered in the bathtub, and they don't know what to do, and they're freaking out, and that's basically sets the tone for this show. And that basically is how things start. So then we cut to 20 years later, basically present time now, and we get introduced to the character of Chanel Oberlin, who I think could have been a really great character. Because when I first heard of the Chanels, I thought, okay, this is going to be like Mean Girls, but in college, and it's really not. The beginning I really love. I think her monologue is one of the best parts of this episode, was her monologue, because right away, you can tell that Chanel is the definition of a bitch. She is very powerful. She basically runs Kappa Kappa Tau. She has there are 3 other girls that run it with her that she doesn't care to learn their names. You got, Chanel number 2, Chanel number 2, Chanel number 4, Chanel number 3, and Chanel number 5. Now, if you're wondering what happened to Chanel number 4, basically Chanel number 4 had meningitis and basically died, and Chanel didn't care, and I thought that was kind of funny that we saw that. So we see this monologue from her, and we see how much people don't really like her, and just how much people are scared of her, and my biggest thing here, though, is that this was the perfect opportunity to get introduced to the Chanels, get into each of their personalities, see how different they all are. I have to say, though, they really weren't that different from each other. I didn't see many differences in them that I would have necessarily wanted to see. And I get it that, yeah, this is just like the first 5 minutes, but I feel like they really should have shown just in these first 5 minutes how different are the 4 Chanels. They really didn't seem that different. Chanel number regular Chanel just felt the same as like Chanel number 5, who, let me just say, I just didn't really find them that, different from each other, and I want them to be different. I think they are going to get different, but I didn't really see much from them. I'm like, this isn't exactly what I really want from this show. Then we get introduced to what I feel is one of the more compelling things about the show, the character of Kathy Munch, who is extremely underused in this episode. My biggest thing right now is Jamie Lee Curtis is on this show, probably the thing that most people are looking forward to. And if they keep using her just as, if they keep using her for the, very small amount of screen time she had in this episode, I'm going to be very disappointed because she really doesn't have a lot to do in this episode. The character Kathy Munch, I can't really decide what they want to do with her character. First it seems like she's going to be the big hero of this show because she does not at all like what Kappa Kappa Tow is doing. She thinks it's wrong. She thinks it's wrong the way Chanel is manipulating everyone. Um, she just doesn't like the way things are going, and she doesn't like the way that they're controlling everything, and she really wants to put a stop to it. And we see, I think this was a pretty funny flashback. It's this girl that's basically telling Chanel, no, you can't come to my party, and but right after, she tells her she can't come to her party, Chanel's giving her a spray tan, but the girl ends up getting burned alive, and we don't know why, and basically, obviously, Kathy doesn't think this is gonna go well for Chanel. Then we get introduced to the character of Gigi Caldwell, who basically wants to take over. She wants to put things back in line for Kappa Kappa Tau. She wants things to be normal, and she doesn't like the way things are going. And I like her character, but again, she's very underused in this episode. Now, that's not to say she's going to be underused in the whole show. I don't think that's going to happen, but just this first episode, I didn't feel she had a lot to do, and she's one of the more compelling characters. I'll get into why, but I just didn't find her to be as good as she could have been. Definitely. So we get all this, and then all of a sudden we get some really misplaced heart from this show. We get a scene we meet the character of Grace, who basically is supposed to be exactly what you think, the saving grace of this show, the only character that's not completely insane that we've been introduced to so far. The character of Grace, though, is very bland. She's very bland. I mean, I like some stuff with her character, but the thing with her and Wes is very, very awkward. Wes is her father. He's playing Twilight music and talking about how she went to see Twilight as her first movie, and I'm just thinking, why? I mean, I understand that, he wanted to help her out, but it just seemed really out of place, and especially because it's supposed to be funny, I'm like, this isn't really funny. It seemed like they were trying to add some heart, and it didn't really work, and we see that Grace, she's basically pledging to go to this sorority house. She really wants to go there. And because her mother was in the same sorority, and she tries to convince this girl, Zayday, who I have to say, I found very annoying. I really found her annoying. I really want to like the character of Zayday. I like Keke Palmer as an actress. I like what she's doing with the character. But just the character of Zayday, I really am not a fan of. Because Zayday, she could be doing a lot more, but she's kind of, I just really am not a huge fan of her character. But she tells, she basically tells Grace, look, you don't want to go to this is not going to be good for you, you're going to get a very bad reputation, and things like that, and okay, that basically is what ends up happening. But she doesn't listen to her. She decides to join Kappa Kappa Tau, probably because she's interested, and that's what she decides to do, and that basically is what happens there, is that she decides to join. So then we see Gigi again, basically. Gigi, they're having a whole party, and Zayday is there when she said she didn't want to be part of this sorority, but she's there. And I found that to be very, very strange that she said, look, I don't want you to be here, and she is there. I mean, it felt very strange to me. However, then we get something very compelling from Gigi that kind of goes away after this episode. Gigi apparently is, wearing all these nice clothes. And Zayday asks, why are you wearing clothes you'd wear from the 90s? Now, Gigi very much could be the baby of the mother that died, when the baby of the mother that died in the flashback. That very much is who she could be. I think that's who she is, and, she doesn't feel it's true, but I definitely feel what they're doing with her character could be a lot more interesting if they would have handled it a bit better. And again, we get the Chanels here, but you just don't see a lot of differences from them, and I'm waiting to see, what makes them all so different, and there's really nothing that different. Like I told you guys, I really want a Mean Girls aspect from them, and my biggest problem with this is that Mean Girls, they all had distinct personalities, You had Regina George, who was the bitch. She was a bitch, she was slutty, she just, she was the definition of a, mean girl. Then, of course, you had Gretchen Wieners, who was, very popular, very smart, and then, of course, you had Karen Smith, who was the dumb one. And here, they really just didn't seem that different to me, pretty much Chanel, like, for example, Ariana Grande's character, Chanel number 2, is basically her character Kat Valentine, but in college. I didn't see much difference from her. Really, really bad in this episode. Very miscasted, and I really didn't like her at all. I know that Chanel number 3 wears these earmuffs, but they don't tell us why. They don't tell us what the reason is, and I actually would have wanted to know. I know you're like, oh, it's just the first episode. This is exposition that we actually need. The biggest problem with this is that they throw so much exposition at us all at once. All this exposition. And it just didn't seem as interesting as what they could have been giving us. This, I would have really wanted to know, is, what makes all the Chanels so different and things like that. That's something I thought would have been very interesting, but they really don't get into in this episode. And again, I know this is just the pilot, but they're throwing so much at us. However, we do get introduced to potentially some very great characters. We get introduced to the character of Hester, played by Leah Michelle, who's the complete opposite of what we've seen from her. She's very, very funny. She's very awkward, and we don't know too much about her yet. But I definitely really am looking forward to seeing how Hester is on this show. Then we have a deaf Taylor Swift who basically thinks that she's Taylor Swift and she has meningitis. And I found it kind of offensive, but I thought it was kind of funny as well what they did with that. I don't really know how to feel about that. Then we have this character that's a lesbian, and obviously she's predatory and everything. And Chanel's narration here is not funny at all. I didn't find it funny. I really didn't. At this point, I was kind of liking Chanel, but after this, I'm like, I'm really not liking Chanel as a character, and this really starts when we get into what I think is the worst parts of this entire episode. I'm happy it went away after this, because I really did not like it. Chanel starts to bully the maid of the school, basically. She's a maid. She's also the cook. Miss Bean. She starts to manipulate her. She starts to insult her. And I just didn't find it funny. And I know we're supposed to find this funny. I just found it downright rude and offensive. And I didn't really find Chanel a character that I love to hate. I just hated her. I really hated her in these scenes. And I'm like, I'm really not liking her character here. And I really want to, but I'm not. So it really was not working for me. But then things kind of turn around, because the Chanels hear a knock at the door, and basically Kathy brings in this girl, Jennifer, who is the complete opposite of what the Chanels want. She's not very pretty. She is not someone that, they would have wanted. And basically Kathy's telling them that, look, this is how we're turning things around. This is what I want to do. And I like how Kathy, like I said, is taking control. I like that she isn't afraid to take control, and I really like seeing that. I thought that was definitely very well done. And then we get to the characters of Chad and Boone, who are nothing. They're really nothing. Chad is Chanel's boyfriend who wants to break up with her, obviously, because she's a bitch. But he doesn't really seem like that nice of a guy either. So what is his reason in breaking up with her? Because she's a bitch? Because he really didn't like her? I didn't really get much of a character from him. And Boone as well, I didn't get much from him either. It just seemed like Boone was just, Nick Jonas. He's kind of just there. Not really much from either of them, really. And that was kind of disappointing. But then we get into the whole Miss Bean stuff, which I don't even want to get into. It got very, very stupid, and I really thought it wasn't funny. I thought it was just downright terrible, because Chanel basically plans on, basically making Miss Bean seem like she, grilled the fries or something. I don't know what she was really planning on doing, but she ends up putting Miss Bean's head in the fry, thing, basically in the greaser, and I'm like, what the fuck do you think is gonna happen? Like, Chanel is stupid for doing this, she doesn't think that she's actually gonna kill her. She kills her right then and there, and that I thought was very interesting, because this really changes Grace's perception of her. She really does not like the way that Chanel is doing this, and this I thought was very interesting. I just wish they would have handled this better, because, obviously, it seemed like Chanel knew what she was doing. It seemed like Chanel knew if you put her face in a greaser, she's gonna die, but she seemed surprised when that happened. I'm like, what the fuck do you think was gonna happen? Like, seriously, you put her face in a fry greaser, it's going to burn you, and if you burn your face off, you're gonna die. And I thought it was pretty funny the way they did make fun of that, but that was just, I didn't really like that at all, and I thought it was pretty pointless. Miss B ended up being a very pointless character to me. I get that it was trying to show, Chanel's evil side, But this whole thing just seemed like we could have made Chanel a much better character if we wouldn't have had this, because then I could have actually enjoyed her character, because some of the stuff she said, I will admit, is kind of funny, and I did admit, I did like seeing it, but there just really wasn't much to her, except for her just doing this horrible, horrible stuff to Miss Bean. I really did not like it at all. So Grace pretty much thinks that Chanel's a murderer, and tries to get everyone against her, and Chanel basically says that they're not going to tell anyone this, and if they do, and if they don't tell anyone, then she will make sure that they do get into sorority, that they are there, and that basically that she will keep things good for them. That's what she plans on doing. Now, Kathy, on the other hand, I don't know what the hell's going on with her. This was just weird. She's in bed with a student because apparently her husband just left her for this young woman. This was just downright weird. I don't know what they were trying to do here, but this was just... I found this weird. I didn't find this funny. I found this weird. I really did not like the way they handled this at all, and I definitely thought that was just very, very strange. Grace and Pete, in the meantime, are definitely starting to connect. We get to this character of Pete, who was introduced with the whole Chanel Miss Bean thing that I don't really want to get into, but he starts to take a bit of a liking to Grace. First of all, he tells her not to, join Kappa Kappa Tau. It's not a good idea. He knows of the, the hauntings there. And we start to find out a bit more about Grace, that her mother passed away and things like that. And I thought that was kind of sweet that we saw that. But again, she seems kind of bland. There wasn't much to her in this scene, and I feel that they could do a lot more with her, but she very much is reminding me of Zoe from American Horror Story Coven. My biggest problem with Zoe from that, if you remember, is that she really had nothing that interesting to do. She kind of was just on the show, and she really didn't do much of anything, except just kind of, she really didn't do much of anything. So Chanel and Chad decide to look at Miss Bean's body, and it's been stolen. It's gone. Her body is gone, and Chad enjoys it. I thought that was kind of funny, that Chad was actually getting turned on by death. That, I think, could make him a much funnier character. But again, they don't do much with that, so hopefully they do, because I really think that could be funny. If they do, if they legitimately make the joke of he's actually turned on by this, that I think could be funny, and I definitely really do like that. But again, he plans on breaking up with her. So the Chanels have this whole, blood ritual, basically. I don't know what it was about, but out of nowhere, basically, they start to worry about STDs and things like that. I thought it was a pretty humorous scene with them going back and forth about STDs. I did like how nonchalant Chanel 3 was, about how she has HPV and that really doesn't matter to her. I thought that was pretty funny. But Chanel number 2 decides to bail out because she does not like what they're doing, and there's no reason explained for, why she is doing this. There's no reason explained for why she just decided to randomly bail out. It just seemed like she randomly bailed out, and it really didn't make any sense to me, whatsoever. I think they could have explained that better, and they really didn't. But we get probably one of the funniest scenes of the episode. I found the scene to be legitimately very funny, because this is what I wanted the show to be. I wanted it to be a parody of really ridiculous slasher movies. I didn't want it to take itself that seriously. And this I thought was very, very funny, because Chanel basically is packing, she's planning on leaving, and she's attacked by the Red Devil, but not the way you may think. She starts to get text messages from the Red Devil, and as the Red Devil is coming at her, he still texts her, "I'm gonna kill you right now." And then she, literally, when he, stabs her, basically, she gets up. What ends up happening is that she gets up and she texts him again. It was very, very funny. Just the fact that he was actually texting her as he was killing her, that I thought was pretty unique, and I definitely really liked that, and I thought that was definitely very, very funny, and that's something that I would like to see the show do, is the way they handle it. That's something I definitely, really did like. So that's something that I thought was pretty funny that they did. So I definitely enjoyed that. So the Chanels, basically, they are freaking out. They don't know what to make of this, really. They want to try to cover this up as best as they can. They don't know really what's going on here. And basically, Chanel decides to propose a Hell Week, which is the only week that will prove why the people that, want to get into Kapa Kapa Tow deserve to be there. And that basically sets the stage for the next episode. And then we get what I think is my favorite scene in this episode between Grace and Chanel, because it added a little bit of heart to this episode, and I kind of really enjoyed seeing this, because Chanel basically tells Grace that she does not like her, she wants nothing to do with her, she does not like the attitude she represents, she is nothing that Grace, she's nothing that Chanel admires, she really just dislikes Grace very much, and she very much does not like her. But Grace tells her, so basically Chanel offers her this deal that if she, stops trying to go after her and stops all the bullshit, that she will actually make her Chanel number 6. That's what she wants to do. She wants to make her Chanel number 6, and Grace is not for this at all. She asks Chanel, why are you so mean? And this scene, I thought, was just a bit out of place for this first episode, because we haven't really connected with Chanel's character, I think, at all. I don't think I connect with her at all, and they tried to get us to feel for her here, and it really didn't work. She's talking about, oh, my boyfriend's gonna leave me, and my parents don't really like me, and I'm rich, and things like that. And it really just, I didn't like this scene very much. I really wanted to like this scene, and I like what they tried to do with this scene, but unfortunately, it just didn't really work for me. So, no, it just didn't really work, and I wasn't a huge fan of that. The end of the episode, though, the Chanels decide to put everyone under these, holes. I don't know what exactly they were doing, but they put everyone under these holes, and basically, Chanel number 4 tells them that they're going to stay there all night, and when they come back, they'll see who's alive, and that basically is what they plan on doing. The Red Devil then comes out, basically, and, comes out with this lawnmower. It's pretty funny, though. I did find it funny that the fake Taylor Swift was thinking that Zayday was singing, so she started to sing Taylor Swift. As offensive as the character is, it was pretty fucking funny. That I thought was pretty funny. And fake Taylor Swift ends up getting ran over by the Red Devil. She dies, and that's basically how this episode ends. So, there are some things that I definitely really do like about the show. First of all, I will say right off the bat that, like I said, I think the show does have a lot of potential, but this really was not that good of an episode. I definitely would give this a C+. If I had to rate it, definitely a C+. I was not a huge fan of this first episode. Let me get to the cast overall, because I have a lot of problems with the cast here. Emma Roberts, I think, could be really good as Chanel. My problem is that she's not that much different from Madison Montgomery from American Horror Story Coven, who I think simply was a better character overall because she didn't give a shit. Chanel, on the other hand, is just annoying, and they want you to love to hate her. Madison was a character that I loved to hate until she, got annoying, but I just don't really care about her overall, and they want you to, but they don't, and that's my problem with Grace as well, is that her character is very, very boring. There's nothing really that original about her, and I wish they do more with her, but right now, her character is just, oh, I don't like the way you're acting, I want you to turn your life around, and I'm just like, can we please do something else that helps me connect better with her character, because at this point, there's really nothing they've done that helps me connect with her that well. So I hope they do something, but at this particular point, there's really nothing they've done with her that helps me connect with her. I really like Lea Michele. I really would love to see her as Hester. I think she could be a very, very funny in this show. You really see how weird of a character Hester is, and I heard episode 2, she's a great thing, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they do with her there. Chad is a character that I hope they do some good stuff with. Like I said, him being turned on by death, I think is pretty funny. I definitely like that. But he just is kind of boring. The actor himself, I didn't think was that good, and I think they could have gotten someone better. Diego Boneta, I don't really care about Pete as a character. I get that Grace needs a love interest, but the whole thing with him and basically wanting to be, is upset. He's upset at Chanel, because he used to, he flirted with her, and she gave him a restraining order because she basically tried to flirt with him, and it backfired. I just thought that wasn't that interesting, really. It could be very interesting, and he could be a very good character, but for right now, I just really don't like him. And my biggest problem with the show, if you guys can't tell, is that there are way too many characters on this show. And because of that, because of this large ensemble, it's really hard to connect with some of these characters. A character like Gigi, who is a sorority chief, who I think could be a very interesting character, I really feel is going to be severely underused, as well as Kathy Munch. Kathy Munch, I don't know what the hell they're trying to do with her. Please stop this, her sleeping with the student thing. It's not funny, it's weird, and it does not belong on this show at all. It's very strange they do that. I don't know why they did that. That was weird. The Chanels themselves, I like what they're doing with them. I do kind of like them, in a sense, but if this ends up just being they turn against Chanel one by one, that could be interesting, but there have to be reasons. Like, Chanel number 2 just seemed like she wanted to leave because she wanted to leave. She didn't like what was going on. It didn't really seem like she had a definitive reason as to why she left, and I wish we had more of a reason as to why, Chanel number 2 decided to leave, because we really didn't get one there. The cinematography in the show is fantastic, though. It's such a realistically portrayed show in terms of blood and gore and things like that. I mean, definitely, that's something I definitely really enjoy, and I was surprised by how graphic the show was. I mean, this is an 8 o'clock show. Well, it's going to be a 9 o'clock show, but this is on cable. This is not on cable TV. This is Fox, and it's very, very graphic. Like, we're talking Gotham graphic. It's very graphic, and like the scene where Miss Bean died, like she ripped her face off, that's right out of Poltergeist, and that was very, very shocking. My biggest problem with the show, besides the large ensemble, is the screenplay. The tone of this show is all over the place. It really is. At some points, it wants to be this comedy that you don't need to take seriously at all, but then there are those awkward points, like the scene with Grace and Wes in the car, like the random scene with Grace and Chanel, where they want you to care for these characters, and you just can't because they don't do much with them this episode that gets me to care much for them. Do they introduce them to us? Yes. Do they do something with them? Yes, but there's not really a lot of background with them. Right now, Grace is just a character that's kind of bland. There's not much to her, and I'd like to know more about her, and I get that this was just a premiere, but a premiere needs to set up the tone for the show, and I felt there was way too much exposition given into certain things that we didn't need to know. There was a lot of exposition in this episode, and a lot of it was not necessary. A lot of the characters in the show could definitely be cut out. I could definitely see, like, Pete, he does not need to be there. I don't see the point of his character, really. And especially Kathy Munch, I really want to like her character, but it does not seem like they know what to do with her character at all, and I hope episode 2 is better. I think it's going to be better. I'm not sure. I hope it is. I think it has the potential to be better, but this episode was very all over the place. I really wanted to like it a lot more than I did, but sadly, I did not like it as much as I thought it was going to, and I will continue watching the show. I am going to review episode 2 for you guys later tonight, but for right now, I'm just not as big as a fan of the show as I want it to be. But that's basically my review of Scream Queens. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought of this first episode. I know the second episode's going on right now. I will watch it after I watch The Muppets, but I really want to watch The Muppets. I'm hearing really good things about it, especially, well, not from everyone, but I hear for people like me who actually is really on board with this concept and really likes it. That's actually very funny, and I definitely do want to see how that turns out. So I will see you guys for that, but let me know what you guys thought of this first episode. Do you think this show has the ability to get better? I think, like I said, it does. Like, the scenes that are funny were pretty funny, but there were so many scenes where they try to be funny and it's just really not funny. The Mean Girls aspect of the show does not work, and it tries to be a bunch of different things. When it makes fun of horror tropes and things like that, that's pretty funny. I like that. When it tries to make fun of things like Mean Girls and tries to be like a chick flick, it really doesn't work at all, and I'm really not a fan of the way they're handling that. So that's basically my review. Hope you all enjoyed. Let me know what you guys saw this first episode, and we'll see you guys in my next one, which will be for the series premiere of The Muppets, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.